All right, I
Let
think
me
we should be
see.
live now, though. The for
Nice.
us, you're gonna see the YouTube screen pop up a little bit lag there. It's probably gonna pop up right now.
Cool. And last time we were not interacting with the chat, so we'll need
Oh
to
yeah,
go
yeah.
to
Let's make sure we
YouTube.
keep an eye on the chat box there. Yeah, so if anyone pops in there and sees the chat box, I'm gonna pop something in there so we can make sure it's working. That would be great. Be good to hear from you. We'll see if some people pop in here or what we get. All right.
Yeah, and
All right.
so
Looks pretty good.
the
Yeah.
main topic is going to be just like the things that testosterone doesn't fix, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think hormones don't fix everything is the way I titled the thing. So I
Cool.
think that would be a good chat to start with there. So you got Mason Collins back with me here today from Live Oak Testosterone and Weight Loss out of San Angelo, Texas. We've done a couple of shows together, a couple lives together. Good to be back with you guys again. We have, again, we're going to do live Q&A if anyone's interested, or if anyone has any questions, let us know. But we thought we'd chat a little bit today about the fact that hormones don't fix everything. And that's not a cop out. Doesn't mean we couldn't figure it out. So we're just we're bailing and punting and saying, hey, sorry, we can't fix you. But a lot of that's about setting expectations, and there's big differentials for a lot of the complaints people come to us with for hormones.
Yeah, so that's what, like anytime from a medicine standpoint, anytime there's a complaint, you somewhat internalize a differential diagnosis list. And if you just did fatigue, which is a big one for testosterone replacement, I mean, your differential diagnosis list is like hundreds. It could be anything. And so then that's kind of where I start utilizing like, the ADAM questionnaire, and then we can get, quantitative numbers with lab work, and then we get a pretty detailed questionnaire up front so that we can kind of see if there's anything in there that we can do it. I know my probably top two things that like no amount of testosterone will fix, but I'll ask you first. What do you think your number one is that will hold them back from getting the results they want upon starting hormones?
So number one complaint that doesn't go away that they hoped would go away from testosterone, right? That's
Yeah, or just didn't get the response they were hoping. It's kind
sure,
of holding them
sure.
back.
I'm going to say fatigue.
Yep. Fatigue's a tough one, but what cause of fatigue? Like, what do you think they are still struggling with? Now they're on testosterone, they still have fatigue. What do you think's holding them back typically?
Oh, sleep.
Yeah, sleep apnea would be my number
Oh,
one.
sleep apnea. Oh, yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Yeah, sleep, and sleep apnea is the cause of the poor sleep, and that causes a lot of other things too, right? And sometimes we'll see some clues to that in our labs. So there's a big part of
Yeah.
it too. We're like, hey, why is your hemoglobin hematocrit high? Boom, maybe you have sleep apnea. And a lot of people, I'll go back and forth with I had a couple people this week alone. No, I don't think I have that. I had a sleep study and they told me it was borderline. It's like, well, it doesn't sound like it's normal, right? So maybe we should address this thing. It's a big deal. It'll fix people.
Yeah, and I mean, it sucks. Like, it's not as sexy as a sell as like, hey, start testosterone, or hey, let's increase your dose of testosterone.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get this sleep
Strap this
study.
stupid mask to your head every night and
But
try to
man,
figure that out.
it's so impactful if they do have underlying sleep apnea that we address, because not only have I like gotten guys off of blood pressure medications, like we can de-prescribe meds if we get them on CPAP, but then also they feel better. Everything else is clear now that testosterone's working better. And so that is probably the biggest thing that, if a guy, especially a guy comes in, we've been doing it for 3, 4, 5 months, and they're just like, I just kind of underwhelmed, then it's like, well, your hematocrit's been a little high this entire time. Do you snore? Does your wife kick you in the middle of the night? And sometimes they're like, yeah, my wife can't even sleep in the same room as me. It's like,
Right. Yeah, those are easy.
bro. Yeah, I was like, bro, we should have gotten this
She's
4
worried
months ago.
she's worried I'm dying in the night. She's
Yeah.
sitting there watching me breathe to make sure I'm actually breathing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
it's a big one for sure. Yeah, it's high on the differential, and people have an easier time even losing weight when they if we fix their apnea too. So a lot of things get improved, just more clear headed, just feeling better in general. So it's worth it. It's worth fixing for sure.
Yeah, and that's where another aspect of it is like, this is where the GLP-1 medications do have a great use. I mean, Zepbound is FDA approved for sleep apnea, just in the sheer amount of weight loss that comes with it. It improves sleep apnea scores and everything. So that's another, if they're just like, man, I'm claustrophobic and I cannot even fathom the thought of something on my face, it's like, okay, well, we'll try medical management first. And then, I really, in the Inspire stuff, I haven't, in the devices and the implantables, I haven't really had tons of guys, one, meet the criteria, and then two, have it long enough for me to give good anecdotal insight. Have you had any guys or know much
No, I
about
haven't.
that?
It looks super cool though. I want to hear from someone. I'm just picturing someone's kid just messing with it. Hey, they bring their friends in. Hey, my dad's taking a nap. Come in here, watch this, and they're clicking their clicker, making them
Yeah.
they can turn the thing off. And it's
Oh
working
my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting device. And for people who don't know, I mean, it's literally like it's a nerve stimulator that you're using in place of a CPAP. And yeah, I don't know the numbers on how effective it is, or if there's just a certain criteria, a real specific person is going to work for. Because at a point, I would think your anatomy is just going to overwhelm it, right? If you're just some guy with a giant neck and a giant chest, that's
Yeah.
not going to be enough. We're going to need that forced air to overcome it still. But it's a cool idea.
Yeah, because they have to be under a specific weight a lot of times, and even then they put them to sleep. And it's an ear, nose, and throat doctor that typically inserts them, and they'll watch, the glottis and stuff, and if they meet the criteria, if they meet the criteria, but they'll do it. But I had a couple guys say they put me all the way to sleep, looked at it, and said it wouldn't fix me, so they woke me up, and I went home without it, kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's got to be a bummer because they were probably really hoping that would be a fix and they could get rid of their mask, right?
Yeah, yeah. What do you think number 2 is, or the next kind of step on?
Yeah, so some of the biggest things. As we talked about fatigue and sleep apnea, and sleep improving it. I mean, I think libido is another big one. I see it's a big thing. I mean, testosterone fixes it pretty often, and it certainly seems to help. But for some people, it's just not it's not the end all be all. We're still not fixing all the other aspects of your life that can contribute to it. So that's another pretty big one.
Yeah, and libido is really tough, especially if guys are like chasing it. Then I have to get a feel on like, what is the goal of it, and I think some guys just have an unrealistic expectation. Once I started asking, and because every couple is different, like increasing the frequency of sex for some couples may be once a week, and then others are like, well, I'm really shooting for like twice a day, and like, how do you have the time,
You better talk to it over with the rest of the team first before we make that your goal. It might not go over well. Wow. Yeah, no, it's true. And it's such a subjective complaint too. It's like, what are we really talking about here? Because we're back to, how tired are you? How much time do you have in the day? How much opportunity is there? What, all these other aspects. And yeah, we're probably not going to get you back to feeling like you're 15 years old again. You probably don't want to be there anyway.
Yeah, it'd be too distracting.
Pretty inconvenient. It's going to be pretty bad. So, but I do see that sometimes people, and they'll go on the whole list of all the other great things that have improved. It's like every other thing is improved and they feel great, but that one thing, like, I was kind of hoping for more here, and that's a little bit, it's a little tough, especially if that was one of the biggest things they were expecting. But I think again, you set the expectations ahead of time too. And it could improve this. Doesn't mean it's going to.
And really, one of the things that improved it, surprisingly, and kind of hindsight looking back, was once we started offering female hormone optimization, because then the wife or the significant other was able to, increase their desire too. And then it doesn't feel like, it's mismatched too bad or anything like that. And, so they are on board as well. And so then it can be somewhat of a couple's experience and positive for both, and so that was really fulfilling kind of, once we added on, seeing how it was positively impacting both of them kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, and that goes, treating couples is one of the most rewarding things for sure, because you see everything just improving across the board. Like I have couples talking about, we go to the gym together, we're cooking healthy meals together, and then that's more time together. And guess what that's going to do? It's going to increase the desire for the rest of this stuff too. So it all comes together. But yeah. So it's important.
Evening walks together, that kind of stuff. It's just trying to promote family togetherness kind of thing.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
We got a couple questions finally. So Dr. Kara mentioned SubQ only need 80% of dose compared to IM for same blood levels. From my standpoint, I see pretty comparable, and really I leave it up to dealer's choice on SubQ versus IM. Like, if a guy feels subjectively better on IM versus SubQ, then do that. If SubQ is going to give them more compliance and ease to stick with, every other day injections, then SubQ is perfectly fine for me. I haven't really noticed too big of a swing in terms of the actual free testosterone levels or crazy subjective differences. Like I've never had a guy go to SubQ to trial and be like, oh, I just lost all of my motivation and went back to IM. IM, I think, may have a little bit quicker, more robust, and SubQ may be a little bit more gradual and stable, but really at the end of the day, I think it's pretty close to the same, and you can really do dealer's choice at the end of the day, is my experience. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so I think that 80%, so Dr. Mohit Kara, the name sounds familiar too. So the question was by John. He's saying Dr. Mohit Kara mentions this. I think part of that 80%, you only need 80% of the dose, is probably because most people doing SubQ are doing a lot more frequent injections. So now we're talking about your peaks and troughs are coming together. So you're not getting as low a trough as you're going to get. So I bet if you were comparing daily IM, daily IM versus daily SubQ, those numbers, that's going to really close in a lot more. And I think it's going to be super, super close, especially if you waited enough time, like you gave it a true, 8 weeks or something like that. But I haven't seen any big difference if you're comparing apples to apples as far as frequency with SubQ and IM. I think it's pretty much going to be a wash.
I think you have a good point there. Like the more frequent the injections are, the lower total dose you need. Like if you're going from, again, we'll do the classic 200 a week, once a week. I get guys with the same results doing 150 twice a week, or say 160 twice a week, but then they may feel the same with 120 3 times a week. So it's like every time you increase the frequency, you can decrease the dose, like total weekly dose, and they overall feel better just from stable levels and everything.
Yeah, no, there's something to that for sure. I have a lot of guys. Yeah, we go to, they feel a huge bump in how they feel, and I think it's it's more than just evening out, the peaks and the troughs from the daily. You probably do get a little bit of a higher, just better response. So yeah, is it the SubQ that's doing it? I don't think it is. I think it's more the frequency than anything.
Yeah,
for sure.
So the next one, looking on Insight on Labs, 44-year-old male, started TRT in April, 150 milligram a week, March to June, 538 to 1248 free, or total. Free was 7 to 21, estradiol less than 10 to 58, SHBG 35 to 27, IGF-1 179 to 130. Should I stay at 150 or bump up? Honestly, that's truly my view on that is just purely symptoms. How do you feel? You started in April. Oh, so that's still brand new into this. And so my approach would be to let it ride and see. You can somewhat play around with it, with the free of 21. But really, it's how do you feel subjectively?
Yeah, you're in the park, right? I mean, free tea at 20 is kind of where guys start feeling better. I always say kind of 20 to 40. I think you say more like 20. You say usually like 20 to 30, something like that, Mason.
25 to 35, and really
25
I'd
to
say
35.
30. It seems to be kind of the sweet spot for a lot, and that's the
Yeah.
that's the range where they feel really good with minimal side effects.
Mhm.
Like I feel like over 35, I'm, hematocrits are creeping up. I'm talking about acne more, and maybe their blood pressure's going up, but I really seem that seems to stall after 30, 35 or so. That's kind of been my experience with them.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a special person who can let it run high and feel really good, right? Or a different kind of person. It's usually someone who's really checking all the boxes and everything else is good. Then they can run a little bit hotter and they do okay. So yeah, I think really, Dan, it depends upon how you're feeling. Live with it for a little while. You'll give yourself a good honest look at how if you're feeling some symptom relief. And if not, you could try to run it a little bit higher if your doc's on board. You put your estradiol number in there, and that's fine. It's fine. I mean, 50. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. And 58 isn't alarming by any measure. Even if I was someone who cared about it, still not a big deal. You're still good.
I think you would feel. I mean, just subjectively, I bet you felt like garbage less than 10, and at 58 now you're getting some benefits of it, and
Right.
feeling
Yeah,
pretty
for
good.
sure. Joints are a little bit more lubed up. Everything's probably feeling pretty good.
P5P, 100 to 200 milligrams. I use P5P for improved penis sensitivity in guys with delayed orgasmia or difficulty achieving orgasm. It somewhat antagonizes prolactin, increases dopamine, and 50 to 200 milligrams is what I've used with pretty good response. Do you ever use it, Mike?
Very, very rarely. Very rarely. Couple times for the same reasons too. And again, if you see prolactin creeping and you don't have any other big concerns, but way better first line than trying to go with something like Caber or something like that, because the downsides of that are just awful. Right? I mean, you try to get off of that, and people can really bad things can happen. So not worth jumping to that at all. So this is, it depends what you're taking it for too, I guess.
Yeah.
He hasn't mentioned why he's taking it.
Yeah, what are you take any positives? I mean, it's a B vitamin. It's basically B6, and so positives.
A little better tolerated at high doses in this form, though, right? So you can get away with the amount that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it can work. It can work pretty good. Let's see here. We have what I understand BP can go up about 10 points, which mine did starting TRT about a month ago, and is transient typically. At what point does it seem to go closer to baseline? Hey, Josh, what's up, man?
Good evening, gentlemen.
How you doing, man?
Apologize. My voice came up with like some type of sinus and or upper respiratory infection.
Oh, man.
Dang it. You and Matt Sharon?
Thanks for
we were supposed
thanks for
to do
toughing it out.
Yeah, a podcast episode yesterday. I literally had no voice. I was
man,
like this the whole day.
Nice.
So,
You got your radio voice on.
Yeah. So
I like it.
I sound like a frog today.
That's awesome. I like it. We should. Do you have a pad and paper there? You could just write stuff on there and hold it up to the camera, and then we'll read it for you. Yeah. Nice. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's gotten better today. So as long as I stay hydrated, I got like a little water here. So.
Nice. Yeah, so we hit on a couple of points on how hormones don't fix everything, and then we got a bunch of questions in here, so we started grabbing those. We're gonna, I think, rip through a couple of these guys, and maybe we'll get back to the other topic of seeing how time looks. But yeah, don't lose your voice over it, man. If you want to sit there and sip and nod your head, that's cool too.
I'll throw some peanut commentary in.
Nice. I like it.
The blood pressure going up initially, I'd say 8 to 12 weeks, it typically levels out. And I'm okay. I have no problem bringing on an ARB or, low dose diuretic to help if there's fluid retention with it, just to keep it. I mean, I like it to get closer to 120/80. And a lot of times I'll bring it on and, they'll take it for they sometimes not even daily. They'll just need it a little bit here and there. And after about 8 to 12 weeks, it just seems like it drops off. Like they don't ask for a refill, and blood pressure remains pretty good after that. And then also just make sure getting some like zone 2 cardio, that kind of stuff. And just kind of keep an eye on it. But I don't want it to go too crazy. 10 points up isn't terrible, but if it's still over like 140 over 90, I like putting a little touch of telmisartan for a little bit.
Yeah, we don't want you living there for a long time, but I agree. If it's up for just a little bit and tends, those first few months, things tend to wash out and kind of come back to baseline. And totally agree. I do the same thing too. If we need a little whiff of some antihypertensives in there to make it right for a while, that's fine. It doesn't mean it's here's your forever med. You're not ever coming off this thing, and it shouldn't be a case where that's what's happening too. But yeah, staying active and all that stuff is great for it too. So if you're not doing that, make sure you're getting after it in that way.
Do you like a diuretic or an ARB in that transition stage? Either of y'all?
I would go with an ARB first, personally.
Yeah, we typically use an angiotensin receptor blocker as well. I have used HCTZ before as well, and even chlorthalidone. I used to actually prescribe chlorthalidone in urology for kidney stone prophylaxis.
So Coulter is the other nurse practitioner here at Live Oak, and he had cardiology experience for 5 years prior to joining our team. And he's like, I hate hydrochlorothiazide. Chlorothiazone's just so much better, less electrolyte disturbances, better blood pressure. Yeah. Don't use HCTZ, just use chlorothiazide. And, and it's like, it's always good to have that other insight, because HCTZ is just like, I don't know what I was taught. And so that's what I used. And
it's old, it's cheap, it's not going to get turned down by insurance. I don't think the other stuff is now anymore anyway, but there's definitely a period of time where you're worried about that in your busy day. If you're writing all those scripts, you want calls from the pharmacies. I think a lot of primaries would you stick to what you know is going to push through, and it's going to work. Maybe not your first choice, but that's a terrible way to do it. But I think that's what ends up happening a lot of times. Yeah, I like an ARB better for sure. So Dan says, feeling tired and sleep is still in the trash. And that's one of the symptoms we were just talking about, how, sometimes hormones can fix that. Sometimes it's not going to be the answer. So definitely need a deep dive into whatever, what else might be going on. What does your sleep look like? What does your diet look like? What does your recovery look like from exercise and stress and life and all those other things too. But could a higher dose of testosterone and getting that free T up a little bit more help with that? It could. I also want to see your thyroid labs and see what's going on there, right? See, free T3, maybe some antibodies to go along with it.
Yeah, thyroid's that missing link in a lot of guys, and for the longest time, I really just didn't have a good enough, sounds terrible, but just pitch to convince a guy to bring it on, because they're like, I don't want to add a pill or anything, it's like. But now it's like, look, man, you feel better. It revs your metabolism up. You're clear thinking. It's what I take thyroid myself now, and it really helped fill the gap. Like I was cruising on 200 of caffeine as soon as I wake up, and 200 at night, or not at night, after lunch. And I was, I tried the whole Huberman, like don't ingest for 90 minutes. And that didn't seem to change much. When I added thyroid, now like I need like 100 for the whole day, and that's just because I like the caffeine, not because I feel like I need it anymore.
Right.
When you say don't ingest for 90, do you mean like no caffeine for the first 90 minutes of the day?
Yeah. So Huberman,
morning cortisol do its thing, and that whole yeah.
Yeah. Let your adenosine receptors build up a little bit. And then
I think there's a little something to it. Ride that morning wave a bit. Same thing for me though too. And I think a lot of times with thyroid, like a lot of these things though too, you get someone who's prescribing something for you, and they have a shared experience. They're more likely to be on board with it, right? You go to your primary care doctor, and the guy's taking testosterone himself and is super into it. You might have a good experience here. Right. Same with thyroid too. You have someone who has no either they're not taking it themselves or they haven't seen a patient have a great experience with it. They're going to think you're drug seeking. You're just, you went on the internet and you think thyroid's going to make you lose fat and, do all these magical things. It could be a super good medication though. I've been taking it for about maybe 5 years, just 30 milligrams of Armour daily. Big difference. Same thing, as far as, stimulant intake. Caffeine in the morning, I could take it or leave it. A lot of times I forget to drink it until pre-workout. I always have a cup of coffee before I hit the gym.
Do you guys use pre-workout?
I do. Yeah. I like the citrulline. Really?
Really? I can't. Something in whatever they, I do the low stim if I've done it, but every time I try pre-workout, my mouth becomes dry like paper. And when I go work out, I actually feel terrible. So I just was like, no more pre-workout. I just go to the gym and do my workout.
You
just
say
tadalafil?
Pre-workout? Like you're talking, but
yeah.
How about just a cup of coffee?
It's almost like caffeine, like a cup of
caffeine.
coffee.
So it's caffeine in general.
Well, I drink coffee in the morning. 1 cup. Well, like 1 mug, I guess you could say, right? It's probably like 12 to
64 ounces.
Yeah, they come up, right?
1 mug.
Yeah.
Of coffee,
1 drink.
Right? Like it's the pot. But no, it's probably like anywhere between 12 and 16 ounces of coffee. And I find myself not even finishing it half the time anymore. And that's it. That's all the caffeine I drink during a day. So it's probably like 100 to 125 milligrams total. But when I take a pre-workout, I've never done like a normal stim pre-workout. I've only done like a low stim because caffeine and me are like, I can't do high stim stuff. It's too much. So I'm like very sensitive to caffeine. So even a low stim, I have one that's 75 milligrams. Every time I take it, I don't think it's the caffeine. I think it's the other stuff in the pre-workout. It makes my mouth like about 30 minutes afterwards. I'm like, and it actually makes my workouts worse. I was like, fuck it, no more pre-workout for me.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, if you're overstimulated and you're tacking out, you're not gonna feel great. If you feel like you're gonna vomit, that's not a good.
Right, and that's what ends up happening. It would make me kind of like, I would be pushing a workout, and it's weird. Like, I don't know if you guys experience this or not, but like if I go to work out sometimes, and like I usually get on the stairs for about five or so minutes just to get my heart rate up before I get into like doing any workout. And I can always tell because like I'll get on the stairs and I'll be on it for 5 minutes and like I haven't started sweating yet. And then I'll go do like my first workout and I'm still not sweating. And I'm like, there's something wrong. And then all of a sudden, I feel like
I'm getting like an anticholinergic response.
Yeah. And then like I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh God, here it goes. And I'm sitting there and I feel like I'm going to throw up and it's just like, douche. And I just drench. I'm like, it's dripping off me then. But I feel like I'm going to pass out. So then I have to go sit against the wall somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
Sucks.
It's not great.
No, that doesn't happen hardly at all anymore. But when I first started working out, it was like every time I went to the gym, it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, this is awesome. Can't wait to do this again.
My trainer was like, are you okay? I'm like, I promise you, like, this is what's not allowed me to go to the gym. But now when I go, no pre-workout, and as long as I start sweating before I'm in, like, we're good.
Josh, what do you think you're, say you started a guy on testosterone and he's not getting any benefits. What do you think is the number one thing that's keeping him from getting benefits?
You mean in terms of like, well, I guess when we're talking about benefits, we have like two things that we could bring up. We have the subjective benefits of going on testosterone, and we obviously have our objective benefits of going on testosterone. So subjectively, if somebody's like, I don't feel any different, or I don't feel like my energy is better, or I don't feel like my libido is any better. Okay, that's fine. So there's our subjective side. Objectively, though, I've never had somebody objectively not get any benefit from testosterone. Like, you can't take it and then go to the gym and like, I didn't gain any muscle. Not going to happen, right? I had a guy that came back recently and he was like, I don't really have any benefit. But then when I asked him and I was like, we went through everything. Hey, are you getting more erections at night? And he's like, oh yeah, like they're better. So I'm like, okay, so we know it's working, but your perception of it is that it's not doing anything for you yet. And sometimes it's a little too early. It was only his 10-week follow-up. So, I tell guys, we don't really, rate how well it's going until that second fall, which is about 5.5, 6 months in.
Yeah.
We kind of decide that, but a lot of it ends up just being mostly lifestyle stuff.
You get in bodies, right? So that's one of the
Everybody.
objective things that I can get. Like a guy will be like, man, I couldn't, if I was injecting saline, I wouldn't know because I don't feel any difference. Like, bro, you've gained 7 pounds of muscle,
Right.
Since the last time we go. So like it's working on the inside. And then sometimes their spouse will come, and sometimes guys just have poor insight to themselves. Because the spouse will be like, this dude is so much more tolerable these days. Thank you. And the guy's like, we have a little questionnaire we have them fill out at the follow-up. It's like, hey, just kind of see it so I can kind of know if there's anything I need to address before I walk in. And, it's like all ones or no improvement. And the wife is like, this guy, he's such a joy to be around now. Thank you. And sometimes they just have poor introspection of themselves.
And I think sometimes people also expect the bar to be like incredibly high, right? Like they take it and they're like, I don't really notice anything, and you're like, it's not like doing a line of cocaine. Like you're not gonna be like, yes, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like it doesn't do that at all. So I don't know what people think. Not that I've done cocaine. I haven't.
I was going to say, that might explain why you felt like that during your workout. That might have been.
Yeah.
I've not, but I'm just kind of throwing that out there as an analogy of, like somebody that has like this massive rush, right? This feeling of euphoria, this great feeling. It doesn't do that at all. You feel kind of just normal again, and you're able to go do normal things that you weren't able to do. That's what led you to go on it to begin with.
A lot of the stuff can be subtle too, right? It can be a subtle thing.
Subtle.
It's subtle and gradual too. You don't even, you don't think about it that much. I just had you're talking about it, a wife coming in with somebody. I just had a guy come in. He's like, maybe I'm feeling a little bit better. And his wife's like, no, it was a television call too. So she's in the background. She's like, what? She's like, no, you're doing great. She's like, tell him about your pants. She had to get all new pants.
Oh my God.
Down, right? He's like, oh yeah, no, so that's great. Yeah, I've been going to the gym like we talked about. Yeah, I have all new pants. Like, okay, so that's awesome, man. You told me you haven't lost weight for like 15 years, right? So that's pretty good. So you start checking down the list. Like, yeah, I'm getting stronger in the gym. He's sleeping better. He's all this stuff. And then so I started looking back through his nose too. I was like, well, any improvement in the sexual function too, because he was having no erections. This guy. She's like, oh yeah, no, I'm getting erections now. Like, dude, you told me it's been like 10 years since you've had, what you told me was an erection that was, workable. I would think that would have been, as soon as I answered the phone, that would have been the first thing you would have told me. So sometimes you have to pry it out of people too. That was a great call. He was laughing after. He's like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this is working for me.
No, you do. You have to kind of really work it out of them. And, it's everything in life. That's how cancer gets people a lot of times, right? Because it's not usually an abrupt symptom. Mm-hmm. It's usually a very slow process, and you don't notice the change because it's so gradual until like eventually it starts to affect something else. And this is kind of like that same process. Like in some people, it's just kind of subtle and moves along, and then when you ask and you finally try to tease out those questions, you're like, oh, okay, like clearly there's benefit here, but it's not like something that somebody slammed the brakes on,
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, like if they look back, they're like, they came, before they came, they would end their day and just like melt into the couch at the end of the day and not do much. And it's not like that they're, again, like the Kool-Aid man and inject and want to run through the wall. But at the end of the day, they're like doing projects in the garage. They're tinkering again. They're outside just messing around, and it's like they hadn't done that in 6 months, and it's not like they had, just an energy level from here to here. It's just now they're busy. They're just back to kind of doing themselves, and they almost don't pick that up at times. Like, oh, yeah, I'm back to what I was doing, because they were so low that now they're just back to normal. So that's kind of where they expected to be, instead of like, kind of like Josh, like a wild stimulant, cocaine, off the wall kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, another guy, he's like, yeah, I started coaching my kid's soccer team and I started a business on the side. It's like, that seems like you have some more energy, man. Where'd that all that come from?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's tricky. We got a question here from Jeff. Let's see. I'm at 1,200. I'm guessing he's saying that's total test and out on 12 pounds of muscle in 6 months. But energy is the big thing I thought I would get that I haven't. So yeah, we're back to what are some of the biggest things people complain about that we don't see him get. He's not having the energy
Yeah.
boost he thought he would get. So you're saying you put on 12 pounds of muscle in 6 months though?
That's a lot of
That's a
muscle in
pretty
6
good.
months.
That's a lot of muscle.
It's two pounds a
Also,
month.
that's a lot of work to do that too. So that's not just all testosterone doing that. Unless you were, I mean, yeah, that would be an obnoxious amount of testosterone to just sit around. So that also means you're putting in more work, and more work means more. You need more recovery too. So it
Yep.
could be that it's just a wash, right? You're just doing more work. You need to recover to build that tissue, and maybe I'm not saying don't do that work so you can feel the energy, but it could be as things level out a little bit too. Maybe you will get a little more energy. It's tough though, because again, that's one of those subjective complaints. Energy. Oh man, I wish I had some more energy. What else is going on? What's your sleep look like? What does your thyroid look like?
Right.
I'm in the
I
gym
mean,
1,000 more times. Yeah. Yeah. And so like me and Mike were talking too before we kind of turned on the live. I kind of switched my workouts. I was getting up at 5 a.m. and working out in the mornings before clinic and everything. But now I'm working out during lunch, like midday during the
So
clinic,
I
and
do mine.
I'm working out where now I have an extra hour of sleep. I am now fed during my workouts, and honestly, I feel just a lot better. I did it for 2 years, and I was like, I'm gonna white knuckle myself into being a morning person, and it just never came.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot better now just because I'm not getting up at 5, and I also changed my workout. So I kind of changed everything. I was doing just heavy compound lifts, but now I'm doing a lot more. I'm still doing, a hinge, a squat, push, pull, etc. But I'm getting more ancillaries in and not just gassing myself on heavy squats only kind of thing. And so just overall, I feel better these days just from that. And I haven't changed testosterone dose. I haven't changed anything like medically wise. It's just I changed my schedule, and now I feel subjectively better just from better sleep or longer sleep and being fed for my workouts.
Yeah, another thing would be too, if you've been really hitting it hard in the gym for 6 months, I don't know if you've been periodizing your training at all. Um, but at a point, as a newbie, you can really let things crank. You just let it rip and just have at
Yeah.
it. But at a point, now you're a different person. Things start getting there's a little more nuance here. Sometimes you have to let off the gas a little bit, let things heal up. I'm not saying that means just quit and go back to your old self and lose the muscle, get fat and lazy. I'm talking about no, you give yourself a built-in break, or maybe it's surrounding a vacation, something like that. You back off a little bit, you heal up, then you slowly ramp things back up again, give it another good run, and boom, just keep repeating that cycle. So you can't just grind forever, right? You can't get infinitely strong, add weight to the bar every single time, add more
Right.
sets, more volume every time. You're just going to run out at a point.
Yeah, make sure you're getting enough carbs, enough calories overall. And a lot of guys will run into like, it's hard for us to really overtrain, I think, but it's easy to under recover in
Mhm.
terms of sleep and chronic stress that we're under. You just never get. So in like a structured deload week, occasionally throwing those in is nice, just like Mike said, to let things heal up. And, that again doesn't mean do nothing, but just decrease the load and
I do hit and mobility.
mhm.
So I just don't even use any weight. It's all like TRX stuff and mobility.
Yeah, it's a
So
good way to do it. Yeah, I'll usually do if I try to build mine around vacations and travel.
yeah,
You hit it
same.
hard into a vacation, boom, now you're on vacation, you're doing, more walking than you would normally do. Maybe you're swimming or doing some other activity you don't
Right.
normally do, and just, maybe some push-ups or some squats to just stay loose and feeling good, but nothing extreme. But if I do happen to be home during one of those, I'll do like a half volume, half load kind of thing. So I'll do just like half the amount of sets, half the amount of weight, just to get some blood flowing. It's great. It's an easy win. It feels great. You're in and out of the gym. You go get some other stuff done. So you don't feel like you did nothing. You're not super anxious about missing the gym.
Right.
But you also check off some other things around the house or something like that. So that's a good way to do it too.
Mike, whenever you're doing around vacations, like your first, night after you eat a big carb heavy meal and you wake up the next day, do you just feel amazing, like all full and everything after
Yeah.
depleting yourself?
That's what's nice about it too. Yeah, you're hitting it hard into there. So now you probably got a little bit of a, well, maybe, depending upon, you get a good night's sleep, you got a little sodium and a carb load, and you feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's a good way to do it. That's why I like to say too, if you're gonna, you diet into vacation a little bit too. So yeah, you're a little depleted and then you just fill out. It's nice. Good,
Just
plan.
from pure vanity, we're going to the beach in July, and so I've been in a deficit kind of leading up to that, and I was like, do I want to like half peak, like throw some carbs in the day before, so that by the time we get there and it'd be like filled out, and just try and replete everything before I don't drink alcohol hardly ever, but I bet I'll drink on the beach, before I like ruin it with alcohol and everything.
Yeah, well, it's going to give you some peripheral vasodilation, so you're going to have more veins even still. A couple of beers or something, it's okay. It's good for the beach. But no, I think don't load till you get there, because then you've been dieting, so you're going to look good when you get there. Then you're going to fill out. So on day 2, people can be like, "Holy crap, that guy looks better than he did yesterday," because you do. And that'll be day over day for a few days. So there you go. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, peak during the peak week vacay.
But yeah, energy and testosterone, or energy and hormone replacement too. It's a big one. People get on like, "Hey, I just don't have the energy I used to have," and then we start them on hormones, and they're just like, "Man, I'm not feeling it." It's a tough one. It's a tough one. And we covered the sleep apnea and sleep part earlier. We talked about some thyroid. I think people should be taking a look at their diets too, make sure they're not chronically over dieted, or in a caloric deficit for too long. Because a lot of times we get people having that too. They're telling me they're tired. We do a deep dive on their calories. Beyond, no, I eat fine, I eat good, I eat clean, or whatever it might be. You take a look, it's like, man, you've been trying to diet and lose fat for like 2 years straight here. And it's like, we need to have you chill out and heal again too. We're back to that, periodize your diet too. So there could be something to that too. I don't know if that's you too, Jeff, but something to think about.
Yeah, whenever you pull them back up to maintenance, or even a little slight surplus, how long do you like keeping them there? Is that like a 4 to 8 week kind of thing, or how long?
Yeah, it's subjective. It's like anything else. Symptom resolution is king. So your fatigue should be washed out. You should feel rested and motivated and healed up. I'd say at least 4 weeks, at least. And sometimes it's even like you want to go maybe half to even 3/4 as long as the push was, depending upon how hard you pushed it. So if it was like a 16-week, you just crushed it for 16 weeks, you might need some time to bounce back. So yeah, at least I'd say at least a month, maybe 2.
And are you just cycling their carbs? Like going from like 200 carbs, keeping the protein the same, keeping the fat at like 0.3, but increasing carbs from like 200 to 400 to 500, or what are you doing from a calorie standpoint? What does that look like?
That's the main mover. The carbs just move.
Yeah.
Right. I like to set a minimum protein. I set a minimum fats, and then you fill in the rest with carbs. If I get someone who really says, no, high fat is the way I like to eat, and I love it, and it's the way I do it, and it's what I'm going to do, the patient has to do the prescription, right? So if I'm not taking that pill, well, what are we doing then? I'm not gonna tell you to do that. But in a perfect world, yeah, you just adjust the carbs. Nothing else really changes that much.
Yeah, and so again, another thing, me and Mike were talking off air before we hit the live. I've been meticulously tracking for a little over 3 months. I mean, I've done this off and on for a long time, but I've had about 2 years where I was just kind of focused on business and family, and I wasn't making the time for tracking, but I got back into it, and it's nice to see what the carbs do. For the longest time, I was like, I'll hit my protein goal. I'll try and keep it lean, so I should, not overdo my calories. But after tracking, I can really tell a 150 gram carb day versus a 300 in terms of performance, recovery, even sleep. And so it's nice. I don't put that on everybody unless they want to be that meticulous and kind of track that closely. Just general public's not going to want to do that. But if they're in and bought in, then yeah, tracking the carbs and kind of moving those around can make a big difference. Just how you feel day to day.
Yeah, I think some people say it's going to make them anxious. And I push back on that and say, for some people, it makes them feel less anxious because you can just trust the math and trust the program. If you get on the scale and it's not moving, like, damn, what's going on here? Am I doing it right? How much am I eating? Am I eating not enough? Maybe I'm eating too much. What might it be? If it's all written down, it's all we said it was going to be. We said, hey, eat at this calorie target for a month. And if that's not working, we're going to change the calories. You're just following that plan. You do that for the month. If it's not going to work, you know what the next step is going to be. No anxiety, no pressure. Just do the thing. Just write down everything you put in your face. If it's, if you missed a day and screwed it up, that's fine. It's in there. We understand why at the end of the time it didn't work out. Hey, your average calories were 200 higher a day than we wanted them to be. That's why you didn't lose as much. But look at that. The math still works out.
Yep.
So I think it could be good for that. On the flip side of it, though, I have people who don't track and won't track, and the plan's working great. They're losing a pound of fat a week. They're happy with how they look. They feel good. That's hard to argue with, right? It's working. The plan's working. But it's for people where the plan's not working, and then they still don't want to do it. It's like, well, you tell me then. What are we going to do here? It's not the medication. It's not we don't know what it is because we're not tracking, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
So you can get there. It's just a matter of, do you want to go out for a drive and find your way and have fun doing it, or you want the precise directions with the map, with Google Maps is going to tell you what's the best way with the least traffic and the fastest way to get there. So a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah, and tracking it's changed my behavior irregardless of everything else. Meaning, like, it will make me say no to a small snack or something just because I don't want to mess with tracking it. Mm-hmm. Going to a restaurant, I don't want to input. I'll check something like on the app of something and be like, what is this before I order it? What is this from a calorie standpoint? Like, I don't want to burn 1,100 calories here.
Sure.
So, and it's like, Chick-fil-A nuggets. You don't even have to get grilled. You can get normal Chick-fil-A nuggets and you can have 12 to 15 and it's still pretty decent calorie, protein, everything. And so,
you start learning about trade-offs. You you were talking about blueberries at bedtime before too. Someone looks in and like, wait a minute, so I can have 2 squares of chocolate, or I can have more blueberries than I could possibly.
Yeah, fistfuls.
Just two crates of blueberries. So or even you're talking about alcohol before too. Not that I'm encouraging people to go out and drink a ton, but the reality is reality. You mark down what it is, you look and see you're drinking, light beer versus IPAs. It making a big difference. The calories add up. Or you see, maybe now you understand, like, hey, every weekend I go out and drink, wine with my friends or go out for some beers. Write it down. Write down what you're drinking too. And it's fine if you're going to do it. It's just, that something else has to give. A lot of times those are the missing bits.
Just building that calorie awareness helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know. It's hard to know.
I got a guy, Thomas Locke, complaints, started treatment under a year ago, 180 week, numbers are good, feel good, dropped 30 pounds of fat, gained 20 pounds of muscle. Wow, that's baller. 46-year-old male, complain at the cost of the clinic to make me come in for shots, think about switching to a urologist. Neither of that sounds terrible because that probably means it's once a week injections. And if they're charging you an arm and leg and making you come in,
so worst of all worlds there. It's just.
Yeah. And then switching to a urologist is, urologists are great. They do a lot of really good stuff. They're going to be hit or miss in terms of testosterone management. And so advice, Josh, you have good advice on picking a clinic. What's your, how to pick your testosterone provider?
Yeah, I wouldn't go to a clinic that makes you go in every week, like at all. That's super inconvenient. There's no reason for that. My take is that it's probably a clinic that has the word renew in the clinic name. They tend to do that. That's one of their modus operandi. Go in every week, pay every week, that type of thing. I'll say this, cost of the clinic. So when you pick your clinic, number one, I always say you don't pick the clinic, you pick the provider. Okay? So I have my clinic, obviously Mike and Mason have their clinic. You should, if you truly want to do this the best way and you want to get the most out of it, you should have a very good relationship with your provider, first and foremost. They're going to be your river guide. So if you want to go down and whitewater raft, you probably want the best river guide. And go after the best river guide. That's what it's going to be. When you pay somebody like our clinic, for example, testosterone's cheap. We do include it in our monthly fee. You don't have to come in, but you don't pay for the testosterone per se. You're more so paying to have a good guide, essentially. That's what it is. You're paying for somebody that understands. And when you have a question and you send it in, it's answered. It should be answered fairly quickly, at least it is at our facility. And they should know, like, there shouldn't be any fumbling, right? It shouldn't be like, I'm not really sure. Or if they truly don't know, they should say, you know what, I don't really know, but I can find out. So that's number one. Always look for a good provider, not necessarily a clinic. And I understand, too, where some guys live. I'm half the volume, huh? No, somebody said that the other time, too, where my volume was low. Maybe I just got to get closer to the mic.
That might be you this time, though.
It could be, because I'm not feeling well. And then I understand cost has to go into that. I think what would you deem expensive? I mean, the average cost for a TRT clinic, I want to say, is around $200 a month. And that can include a myriad of things. Like most places, it includes at least a visit and maybe some lab work and your testosterone. But yeah, I would look around. I probably would stay away from larger chain clinics if you're looking for somebody to actually pay more attention to you. Some people can't. They might not have a very good local, smaller clinics, but if you want more care, that's what I would look for, not the bigger ones. If you want cheaper, usually the bigger ones are definitely cheaper because of that, but then you're not going to get the service. You're not going to get the answers to the questions that you have. It's just going to be more of a, here you go, done deal. So.
You know, what I've seen with urologists and with primary care doctors and guys who have success is that provider is taking testosterone themselves.
Yeah,
right. Because
helps.
you want someone who's going to be an expert, and people become experts at things they do themselves. So a lot of guys who are on testosterone, they know more than a lot of healthcare providers do about it. They're self-invested. They know a lot about it. And a patient anything knows a lot more than it. A cancer patient goes back to their primary care doctor. They know more about that cancer than their primary care doctor does, because they're spending hours looking it up and asking experts about it and really digging in. So I think, is it 100% the case that it has to be? Not really, but I bet that's going to be a huge factor if you find a urologist that's actually going to be good at this and do a good job. I think that's that's kind of part of it. But yeah, outside of that, I would seek out a small clinic, and again, I think what Josh said is perfect too. You're not looking for not looking for the exact lowest price. You're looking for someone you really mesh with, and you're looking for a good provider that follows a lot of the good principles we talk about here and doesn't do a lot of the red flags we talk about here. But yeah, going in for one injection per week, I mean, that's not going to work great for most people. Mm-hmm. And it's super inconvenient, and to be paying a lot of money on top of it, that's not great. And again, to Josh's point too, it depends. What do you consider to be a lot of money, and what are you getting? What's the what's the value? So, yeah, it's tough. It's nice that you said it's a friend of yours is also going there, so it's nice to have that too. But I would get some more details on it and see what's happening.
Yeah, the next guy started TRT 2 months ago for low energy, brain fog, lack of drive, etc. I'm on 120 weekly and so far feel nothing. Work out 5 to 7 hours weekly and eat super clean. Need follow-up labs, but maybe titrate. Yeah, maybe more time, for Lucky or Luciano. A lot of times just more time to, I'm not giving it tons of an assessment at 8 weeks. I've had some guys, a couple notable guys who told me kind of the same deal. My level, I see my levels are good. I just can't feel it. And then I follow up with them their next time, and they're like, their life has changed for the better. Sometimes it just takes a bit of a running start, but keep doing just be consistent with all the lifestyle stuff, and kind of like we were talking about with the last guy, 5 to 7 hours a week. I mean, that's an hour a day. Just make sure you're eating enough, sleeping enough, recovering enough on top of the workouts, and just give it more time. Yeah, I do think labs at 2 months is probably warranted, just to get a baseline where you're at and see if there's adjustments. That's whenever we do our first follow-up is 8 weeks. And so that's where I like to kind of check in. But that's probably where I'd start, just kind of check in and see where you're at, see how you're doing. And but don't give up on this stuff yet. Just keep being consistent with the boring stuff.
Yeah, some of that's going to be too is how are you taking that 122? You take it in divided doses. I hope you have that broken up in a nice way too. It's not just a weekly, one weekly shot like that. And 120 can be pretty low. I mean, it works good for some guys. I don't know. I don't think it works great for most. Especially, I don't know how. There's something to the size of a guy too. I don't know how tall you are and how much you weigh. It sounds like you're pretty active. I mean, working out 5 to 7 hours per week. Just hearing that alone. Again, there's a lot of things that go into it, but usually someone who's that active, I wouldn't guess 120 is going to be the sweet spot for him, but could be wrong.
No, yeah. I mean, I have guys who they coast at 120 and do amazing, but I'd say that's on the lower end of mine. I'd say majority of mine's 120 to 160, 180, somewhere in there. So
yeah, usually a pretty active guy like that. I bet you'll end up going up, but it's early though too, right? So enjoy the ride. Don't get discouraged. See what you get. What else we got here? Let's see. Do you think the VA will ever figure out TRT, or ever at least send people to urologists outside the VA on community care? I feel like if they broke me, they should pay for it. Fair enough. No, I agree. I wish they would take great care of you guys. I appreciate your service, man. I really think that's a smart thing. So my brother is going through a similar thing. Well, I'm just gonna HIPAA violate him right here. Why not? He went and had his levels checked, right? And it didn't go well. He won't care. Yeah, and I hear this from multiple guys too. The ranges they look at here just terrible.
They almost just make it up. I feel like every time a guy comes from the VA, it's like they have a different parameter, and it's like the last guy didn't say that, and it's like, yeah, now it's 150 on 2 different days, and like it just keeps getting lower and lower for no reason, even though they're like documented low in their own labs.
Close enough. Close enough. It's low, but it's close enough. And then what? And then the downside there too, though, is then they send you to urology, and then they further screw it up, right? So they're just going to tell you again now. So now you feel like you've been to the specialist who also told you don't need it, and now you just give up. And that's what everyone's hoping for. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if the VA will get their act together on that. I think. I think again, unless you happen to walk in on a guy who's also on testosterone, you might not get a great experience there. That's too bad. It really, I mean, there's a lot of data for people who've been in the situations that veterans have been in could really benefit from some hormones, right? Just physical and psychological things that happen to them. It screws up their hormones, and it could really help them. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but I have a lot of military, some active duty too, that actually come to us. So
same, yeah. We have Air Force Base here where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
I mean, it'd be
killing
cool if
it,
you
though.
walked in and Dr. Wingy was your
Yeah.
your VA doctor or something, right? If you happen to be deployed and he was your guy. Not that he's doing
Yeah.
it anymore, but yeah, that would have been a good set of facts.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have here. Did I miss anything? Okay. I tend to consume a large portion of sea salt daily because it adds flavor to eggs and olive oil. I grind out approximately 6 twists to 4 eggs per day. I used to indulge in inorganic unsalted butter, but switched to olive oil. Should I continue to do this? To eat the salt?
Depends on how salt sensitive you are, you know.
Yeah, it really does. Some people it doesn't affect them at all. Some people it's going to affect their blood pressure. They're going to see, you know, they're looking down at their sock line when they take their socks off at the end of the day, and there's a divot in there or a line because you have some, you know, some peripheral edema. You don't want to be that person. Some people really burn through some salt though too. Like if they sweat, heavy sweaters, they have patches that can actually measure it too, right? They'll put them on. I think some of the NFL guys are burning. I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but it's some outrageous amount of salt. It's like multiple grams per hour of exercise.
Wow.
They're just ripping through it. So it's hard to know where you are on that spectrum. And if you're, you know, if your kidneys are working well and you're exercising hard and you're drinking plenty of fluid, you can usually push the salt. But yeah, I keep an eye on your blood pressure and your other metrics and see it's probably fine. I don't know how much you're really going to get out of 6. You know, 6.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what that's going to be, but you know, I do think LMNT it's a ton of salt for somebody who's sedentary at a desk job. You know, if you're working out, like I sweat like a greasy cave troll, you know, and so yeah, I take off running and I'll drop pounds in a 3-mile run of, you know, water and sweat, and so I do a lot of sodium replenishment, and but a lot of times, like if a guy's down in 2 to 3 LMNTs a day for a sedentary desk job and he walks 30 minutes in the morning, it's like, man, cut back on the electrolytes. I know it's super hip, and typically we do need more electrolytes, but if they're sedentary and not burning through it, then don't give in to the LMNT marketing. It's good. I like it. I just drank one a minute ago, but I also just ran in 103-degree heat.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it had some more potassium in there too. They're always a little low on potassium. And you start running into a problem there too with, you know, prescribing or selling potassium to people. You don't want to be pushing it too much. But even something like low salt, if you want a low, you know, budget element that doesn't taste good at all, you could buy like Morton's low salt. Nice sodium to potassium ratio works pretty good. But yeah, I think, you know, depending upon if you're sweating, I have my electrolyte, you know, during the summer. We were talking before we went live here, you know, living in Phoenix, my home gym is in the garage. We have an AC and a fan. We just don't turn it on. We just let it crank up throughout the summer and just adjust to it as we go. So I did a workout today, you know, it's 104 degrees out. Definitely had an electrolyte during that workout. If not, I'm going to be cramping up and feeling crappy, get a headache. So yeah, titrate it as you go. I don't see anything. It doesn't sound like an obnoxious amount of salt to me, what you're taking there. I think you're probably okay.
The next guy, 90 days on TRT, HDL dropped 10 points. Anything to do to improve it for my next round of labs? That's not uncommon. 10 points is quite a bit, but I typically see it start to rebound, but it takes a long time. I'd say about a year or so as kind of the visceral fat starts improving and decreasing. It'll somewhat rebound some, not tons. It's kind of genetically set for some, you know, like even like I have our in-body does visceral fat, and my visceral fat is half or way less than what it was at the very first one I did. But my HDL, the best I've ever got it, I think is 42. You know, like it's not
pretty
gonna.
common for a lot of guys to have it upper 30s to like low to mid 40s. That tends to be where HDL lives for a lot of people. Like I had a guy that came in, his HDL was 60. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I almost never seen HDL this high. So
Pretty common for it to take a bounce though. I see that with guys. The first labs come back, oh man, I'm feeling great. The testosterone looks great. They look at their lipids. You're like, oh, what happened here? And then, the next set of labs, no other changes at all. And all of a sudden they're back to
When are you
baseline.
guys checking lipids? I don't check them till a year. I don't even look.
I do it every time, honestly, every three to 6 months. We follow it pretty close, and we'll even get further, deeper dives with apolipoprotein B if they want. I like checking LP little a. We'll check homocysteine, high sensitivity CRP, and that kind of stuff, just to, if they want a further insight. I'm not doing that routinely. It's just we will discuss it, or coronary calcium scores or angiograms if they want. And it's way overkill, for normal testosterone replacement. But, I kind of just started doing lipid stuff because I was like, man, if I can keep this guy healthy, we'll just keep it as much as possible. And then I kind of went into the deep dives of, do I even have to control lipids? Can I just ignore them completely? And, that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then the more research that I did, I was like, I'm not convinced. I need to watch this. And then I started learning what to do a little bit more. And then I mentioned Coulter came from cardiology background. And so now we kind of just developed we'll have a cardiometabolic evaluation and discussion if guys want further insight into it.
Yeah, same. I check them. I check them with just about every round. If I have people with multiple stable lipids and it's the same every time, and I'm like, okay, now we start pushing it out a little bit more, because how many times are you going to repeat this test? But
or if they don't care, like if they're bought in that it's not going to affect anything that they do, then I don't want to have the discussion every time, so.
Sure. But there's something to that too. You keep seeing the same thing every time. I've had a couple guys like that too. I'm with you too, Mason. I totally wanted to be a lipid denier, and like, oh yeah, because it sounds cool too, right? You're going against the grain here, and yeah, okay, I can see. They make a fun sounding argument against it. Yeah, you need it for your brain and all this stuff. Okay, right, whatever.
Your brain makes your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the amount you actually need for the other functions, like even hormone production that people talk about, is so small. Right. You hit that well beyond your, before you went over. It's okay. You don't need to run your cholesterol high to get some sort of extra benefits. That's not a thing. Yeah. But I like to think about, I talk about, staying hard to kill, and heart disease is probably the biggest thing that's going to kill a guy. It's going to kill like 25% of men, and lipids are one of those things. And, we happen to be some of the types of clinics that ends up having some more time with guys. So if I can have, an opportunity to pick something off, I think it's great. Does it happen all the time? No, but it's nice to have that talk. Because I get a lot of guys like, no, I'm eating keto and my cholesterol's high and I don't care. And it's like, do you have a family history of heart disease? Well, yeah, I do. But, they didn't exercise like I do. And it's like, have you had a calcium score? No. Let's check something called an LP little a. Let's check an ApoB. Let's get a calcium score. And then boom, boom, boom. These are all, we found some plaque in your coronary arteries. You have an elevated LP little a. Your ApoB is also elevated. Like, do you not believe in that too? Okay. So now we're on to something, and maybe add some years to someone's life. So I like to check it there. I think it's a nice added thing.
Yeah. And some guys get a false sense of security. They're like, nah, I'm good. I'm metabolically good. I'm insulin sensitive. And it's like, bro, your hemoglobin A1C is 5.9. I don't know where you're getting that. I'm just going to do a quick reality check. You're not insulin sensitive, and so you can't make that claim. But I'm also not the cholesterol fact is a risk factor, but it's not the risk factor. If everything else is lined up, then we don't have to be crazy aggressive. We don't have to, not everybody, almost nobody needs a statin. Am I going to do it if they've already had an event, or if, every male has died at 45 in their family and I can't get a PCSK9 covered or anything? Then yeah. But I like the PCSK9s if that could be more available in the future, and it may be.
I'm trying to get sponsored by them.
Yeah, good.
By Repatha. I'll wear a Repatha t-shirt. Come
on,
we could talk.
Are they even allowed to give you those nowadays?
Yeah.
That's a good question, right? Yeah, we're into some sort of investigation for my Repatha t-shirt.
Oh, you're getting a kickback.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what
Well,
you said there, Josh, tell me lipids are a long game though too. So even
yeah.
checking something once a year.
Yeah,
Again, I think you're back
that's
to
a good
like
point.
it's like PSAs. You want to check those every 3 months. Like what are we doing? Do you really need to
Right.
do that? You don't need to do that.
So my reason why I check them at the year, and then after that I check them every 6 months. So the reason I do that is because if you're going to go on testosterone, testosterone's effects on lipids positively typically take about a year anyway. So I don't even check it inside that because it's like I also operate under the pretense of if I'm checking it, I probably have to do something about it. So it's like if I don't want to do anything about it just yet, I'm not going to look at it. So I just, it's there, but let's look at it at the year mark whenever maybe we're going to do something about it. And I always tell, I think Matt and I did our sorry, my back's itchy. We did our last podcast episode on like moving the goalpost shift the longer you're on testosterone. Because it becomes less focused on your subjective symptoms, I'd say like post 6 months, post 9 months, and more on your health span at that point, right? Like all the things that are going to allow you to be healthy as long as possible. And that's where our shift focus is at that point. And then that's when we start to bring in more lipid panels. We get an ApoB once a year, LP little a out to start because it's not super modifiable.
Yeah, just one time
Right.
deal.
Get one and kind of see where you're at. Like I have a guy recently I just did a consult on his LP little a was his cholesterol was elevated, not terrible. I think it was like 155 LDL, but his LP little a was 105. So, this is probably something that this gentleman's going to have to mitigate long term, right? Does it mean he has to go do something about it right now? No. There's still a couple other things, strings we could pull before that happens, but it's more than likely going to be like, hey, you're going to have to manage this at some point. But that's why we wait. But then we start to get into some of those other things that you guys check too.
Yeah.
About every, we meet quarterly, but some of the labs are like every 6 months, and then inside the quarters are just like our standard stuff.
Sure. No, I'm totally with you too. Yeah. Why are you checking things? It's like checking estradiol.
Yeah.
We're going to check it, and then we're going to talk about why we don't care. Like why do we do this? What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah. And with the LP little a too, I said check just one time. But if you're doing something that could potentially modify it, then checking it at some interval. If you are on a PCSK9 inhibitor, or you're
Sure.
someone who's going the oral estradiol route, and you're really going to try to modify it. Yeah, check it at some point. Again, maybe not at 3 months or something. Maybe you check
Right.
it whatever.
I usually
months.
just check ApoB after that because it's it pretty much will tell a pretty good story for them.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking for is it off the rails, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not off the rails, then it's around 100 or slightly under. I'm like, okay, I can make that work.
Sure. Yeah. As long as someone has some known disease, if they have known positive calcium score, you're different character now.
Yeah, when you have
You're
when
talking
you
to
already have
cardiology at
risk
this point, and not
factors.
me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. What we got here? Oh, we have a super chat. Someone sent us $3 here.
What's that?
Israel
Whoa.
Niev's 2817. I hope I didn't butcher that name there. And I didn't see. Do you have a question in there too? Did I miss? Did we miss a question? Or just a thank you? Appreciate that. Thank you. That was nice of you.
What a baller. That's awesome.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
I like it. What do we have? There was a couple. There's something else above there too. Oh, does TRT affect arterial plaque formation? There you go. On the same kind of page here.
Yeah. Good thing. And, for the most part, I think it's, I don't think it has any direct, like super direct effect, but I think just overall what comes with testosterone in terms of better metabolic health, typically more movement, guys feel better. I think that helps reduce arterial plaque formation. And also just kind of getting a deeper dive into all your risk factors and everything at the start. But I don't think I don't think it's going to negatively affect it in any way that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think if you're, if we're going beyond, because we have different definitions of TRT. I mean, not in the, the current company, and probably not anyone who's listening right now, but people talk TRT is, TRT plus or TRT plus plus. Now you're really pushing some of these numbers, and now you've gotten yourself right. You're in a different world now. You made yourself hypertensive. Now you're setting up an environment where, there's sheer stresses, and now that's kind of extra insult to those arteries. And you're setting up an environment where it could potentially make something worse. So as a secondary thing, that could be, I could see some potential for something like that. But directly, no, it doesn't, right? I mean, there were some old, some warnings actually got removed after the, after some new research about cardiovascular disease and testosterone too, right? So we have kind of that stuff's off the table a bit. So it's not something I'd worry about for sure.
I'll add to that, in that there's not really the hormone itself, testosterone, doesn't really directly work on reducing plaque formation. So you have to look at coronary plaque of, do I have plaque that's there? And you have two types. You have your soft plaque and your hard plaque. On your calcium score, you're not going to catch the soft plaque. You're just going to catch the hard plaque, the already laid down stuff. And once that's there, the testosterone's not going to do anything for that. But what it can do is, if you're already laying down plaque, assuming that you're not on like some other type of modifying medication like a statin or a Repatha or anything like that, estradiol has potent effects on cholesterol metabolism. So what it can do is reduce your risk for laying down future plaques in that nature. But the plaque that is there, it will not do anything for it. So what you have, you're kind of stuck with it from a hormone standpoint. But it can help future plaque formation. So.
Yeah, no, it's true. If it's going to keep building up, you only have so much room in there. You want to keep it as low as you can for as long as you can. What do you have here? Let's see. Whitway says, I think it's about the HDL. Mine was 49 and dropped to 39. Yeah, it's to be interesting to see if it takes a bounce for you. I don't know how long you've been on TRT for or what else you have going on. But
it said 90 days.
Is that 90 days? Oh, is this the same guy? Oh, after 90 days. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that up above there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will probably slowly work its way back up after about a year. But the other, and what the other question, anything I can do to improve it, just keep doing the boring stuff, exercise, work on your metabolic health, all that stuff. Reducing the visceral fat burden is going to help the HDL go up. If you're overweight, get sleep apnea under control, that kind of stuff. Anything, improve your metabolic health, muscle mass, exercise, activity, cutting back calories, increasing your protein, cutting out highly processed garbage food, all that stuff. All of that can help rebound it along the way.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about fats and stuff too, make sure you're getting some good quality fats in there too, like some essential fatty acids in there. Maybe some better fats from things like olive oil and avocado can help move things a little bit, not terribly. The exercise part of it can actually move things quite a bit. I've seen it improve for people a lot.
I guess it's worth bringing up. I don't do anything to purposely manipulate HDL. Like old school niacin would bring up HDL pretty reliably, but that changed nothing in terms of outcomes. Like it did not reduce further major adverse coronary events or anything like that. So I'm not giving you anything extra for it. I'm just kind of really highlighting the lifestyle stuff, because artificially manipulating it through the meds and supplements that they've tried thus far has not shown any improvement.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. I was talking with my cardiologist about that too, with the niacin bit of it. It was a disappointing thing for all those guys. Like, damn, really?
Yeah.
And just doing good, healthy lifestyle stuff is still king. Let's see, we have a question here. 24 years old, started at 290 with a free of 7, started in clomiphene but had side effects, moved to HCG and it seems to be wearing off. Lost 40 pounds and my levels are still the same while taking a break. So that's an interesting one. I'm curious to hear what your side effects were too, because just so we can put it out there for the crowd that thinks that it's perfect and it's nothing but gold and nothing bad ever happens. So if you want to share that in there too, we can make that public. But HCG is going to stop working too as a primary. As someone for primary, you get this tachyphylaxis is just going to stop working for for the purposes of just raising testosterone. It's just not a good a good fit for something like that. Losing 40 pounds, that's pretty awesome. But you're saying your levels didn't change much. Some of that's going to be what kind of period of time are we talking about too? Right, it could still take some time to bounce a little bit. And you might, maybe you'll be able to recover still more too. I don't know how much weight you have to lose, or what else you have going on health wise, but that sure is great work either way, man.
Yeah, eye problems, so floaters. So it's definitely appropriate to hold the enclomiphene at the time. And yeah, with HCG, I've had it work well, and then tachyphylaxis just means that it, just stops working after so long. And so I'll get them to take a break on it and just kind of let things chill for a little bit. And we could always retry it in the future. It's hard. I'm not a huge fan of HCG monotherapy. I will keep a SERM in the background at times with it if I can, because HCG monotherapy can be suppressive to the HPTA axis. But glad to see that the levels are still the same while taking a break and not actually have decreased a little bit. So what I would say is let's just give it more time being off of it and see if your body was still somewhat waking up a little bit from the monotherapy HCG, and recheck in 8 to 12 weeks, see how it is, and just kind of give it some more time would be kind of my thoughts with it.
Yeah, currently we're trying to have kids, so trying to jumping on testosterone if you're actively trying is probably not the best time for testosterone. Did he say in here what his levels got up to? Did I miss that in there?
I don't see it. It just started at 290 with a free of 7.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, Josh. I saw this message in here too. Shout out, Josh. My dad was having urinary infections for a year. Doctors couldn't figure it out. Kept him on antibiotics. Just listened to the podcast and heard what you said about Jardians. That's the TRT Dad Unscripted podcast. Josh is, I want to say these. Well, Matt's not here, so we'll say Josh is the star. That's what he gets for not showing up, right? But Jardians. It's an interesting one, right? The mechanism is you're gonna pee out that extra glucose, and now you're putting sugar in your bladder.
Oh man!
And all kinds of bad things.
I have story after story after story with that stuff. And
which sucks because it's a good class of meds.
Yeah, well, cardiologists love it. Like cardiology is, I swear, I think cardiology puts that on more people on SGLT2s than like your family doctor would for diabetes management. And I know why they do it, but I was talking to, who was I talking to the other day about this? You ever watch the guy on social media, Dr. Glaucomflecken?
Yeah, that dude's awesome. His skits are freaking hilarious.
They're like spot on, right?
I'll have to look him up.
So he nails the ER. I love it. Yeah.
So he does the one with like cardiology and versus nephrology. Have you ever seen that one?
Yep.
Oh, it's so accurate too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like he's like over there and he's like, why is this patient's creatinine and sodium, this? And then they're over there and like cardiology's like shaking a little shaker. Like they were doing it to just like fuck with him, you know what I mean? But the takeaway from his thing is that cardiologists, nephrologists, like specialists in general, often have a very narrow-minded approach to fixing things, specifically on the inpatient, right? And so they often don't look at the other things that could go wrong from using a therapy, because they're like, well, I want, like an orthopedist is like, me fix bone, me no medicine, right? A plus B bone together, yay, like that's all they know how to do. If you would have them to have like what antibiotic, like Ncef 2 grams, because that's all they know to fucking order. Right? But they're great at putting the bones back together. That's who you want for that job. And cardiology is the same thing. They're like, we're going to save the heart. If it kills your kidneys, fuck it, like heart comes first. And so nephrology comes on. They're like, you're killing the kidneys. Why didn't you like do this? And they're like, because I'm fixing the heart. So they get so one-track mind. So that's what happens with Jardiance all the time. They put these patients on this medication. They don't tell them that it can cause these issues. And then they have them and they're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, you caused the problem. So
yeah, and being in urology, you're going to see the bad parts of it all the time with them. So like I always say, like in the ER, you just see the bad stuff, the rate of a tonsil bleed after a tonsillectomy is probably pretty low, but I don't ever want my kids to have their tonsils out because I've seen so many bleeds and they happen at, 3 or 4 a.m.
Right.
And it's just like, whenever you're in urology, you're going to see all the urology problems. Even though the incidence, I don't know the exact percentage or anything, it's probably pretty low. But if they're having chronic problems, where do they end up? In your lap, kind of thing,
Always.
Sure.
Always. So
yeah, with that Jardiance, though, I've seen them show up in the ER, in the urgent care, and primary care. It happens, man.
It does. And it's old women were the worst, right? If you get a postmenopausal woman with atrophic vaginitis, it's like almost 100% guarantee that she's going to have recurrent urinary tract infections, like without a doubt. It's
yeast.
You can put them on
yeast infections on top.
Oh man, it's just it's constant because you treat one. Like the problem is so we'd have to cap. I'd have to cap all these women with fluconazole, right? So I'd give them their antibiotic, and then I would do how I would do it was I would typically I did not follow guidelines at all for antibiotic administration, and the reason I live in an area where we have really unhealthy people, like really, really, really unhealthy people. And you cannot give like a diabetic like 5 days of antibiotic for a cystitis. It will not kill the bacteria in 5 days. It will not.
They're all super bugs.
Well, it just like because they're so like unhealthy, and their kidneys don't work as good and everything that 5 days isn't going to work. So the funny thing is, like, Mike, you work in urgent care. Like they go to urgent care and they give like this 75-year-old woman with an A1C of like 8 on Jardiance, like 3 days of macrobid. I'm like, they're gonna fucking do nothing. And of which they may have not even checked a GFR or a kidney function. You can't even use macrobid if the GFR is below 60 because it doesn't get excreted into the urine. So it's like they're gonna give them something that doesn't do a damn thing, and then they're coming to me and they're like, "It didn't do anything." I'm like, "Well, fucking duh!" Like without even a culture and a sensitivity, which I wouldn't say I necessarily needed, but I would always treat these women 7 to 10 days. And then what I would do is I would do fluconazole day 5 times 1, fluconazole at the end times 1, no yeast infections. So that's how I did it. But I'm sure they're going to be like, that's not protocol. Guess what? Fix their infections, no yeast either. So fuck off.
Protocols aren't for experts.
That's true. We just did what we needed to do, but
that's right.
Yeah, so I actually have a really good scenario for you guys that I wanted to bring up. You guys are talking about blood pressure medications when I came on earlier. I had a recent consultation, and I want to kind of bring this up because I was in my thinking room the other night, aka my shower, and that's when all the thoughts hit me,
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So I have a gentleman. I don't have the age off the I have a gentleman, not that old. I want to say mid to late 30s, okay? Obviously, he went through like kind of the song and dance, went to PCP, told him T was normal. But he's also been on some blood pressure medications that he's had because he's had high blood pressure. And that prompted him. So when I got his testosterone, his total testosterone was 238 nanograms per deciliter with a free T of 7. Okay, so pretty low. I'm reviewing his medications, and I'm just going to go over these with you. Now, this is a fairly heavy list, but I shouldn't say heavy, but it's enough. So I have carvedilol, 12.5 milligrams daily. amlodipine valsartan combo, 5 and like I think 160. We have our supplements: creatine, garlic, mag, zinc, spironolactone, 25 milligrams daily. Is there anything in that list that's concerning to you?
This is a guy with the spironolactone.
Correct.
So Coulter, he would bring spironolactone in on times. You know, I'm not a fan, but he said it's a pretty solid diuretic at the times. But I mean, it's going to be fighting against the testosterone if that's what he's coming in for.
Correct. So spironolactone, aldactone, will inhibit androgen production. It will give you low testosterone. So when we worked in urology on inpatient, this isn't spironolactone. Spironolactone, you know, when you learn about it in school, they're like, oh, it's a potassium sparing diuretic. It's good for this. It's good for this. They don't tell you anything about what it does to your hormones, which absolutely trashes them, by the way, if you're a guy. They give it to women for hormonal acne and hirsutism, which is going to get facial hair, PCOS. You give it to a guy, you'll wreck your tea, and then you'll wonder why you have no energy all the time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, on inpatient urology, this is like somewhat related. If I had a guy that got diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer as an inpatient, which would happen from time to time, they would probably, you'd have some guy that comes in like complaining of like low back pain. He's in his 60s. We do a PSA. It's 2,000. So this guy obviously has metastatic prostate cancer. Obviously, we get he'll get a scan. It'll say there's osseous mets, of unknown origin because there's no biopsy at that point. Get a PSA, DRE is hard as a rock. What do I do for this guy, right? So the therapy for this gentleman is going to be androgen deprivation therapy like ASCP, because that'll actually help his bone pain significantly. Do you want to know what we used inpatient? Because inpatient does not approve Lupron or Firmagon. So I can't give them a GnRH agonist while they're in the hospital. Do you want to know what we used?
I'm guessing spironolactone.
Ketoconazole.
Oh, really? Like oral?
Oh, yeah.
Or what?
Yep. High dose ketoconazole will castrate you.
Wow. I mean, I have some guys do occasion like hair, as if they're really worried about it, I'll get them to do like 2%. Yeah, 2%.
Yeah, we give them 400 milligrams ketoconazole, and it will castrate you.
That is wild. I had no idea.
Yep. So that's kind of like the quick and dirty method of doing it. So,
over what kind of duration of treatment?
Well, we would just do that to get them started until we could see them outpatient, and then give them the GnRH agonist.
Gotcha.
So
why won't they approve that inpatient? That sounds.
Insurance is bullshit. It's the dumbest thing ever. You can't
because I mean, ketoconazole is just is good. That sounds like a high dose. It sounds like it'd be hard on the liver. I mean, I've never used it, so I don't know, but.
Yeah, you'd have to check their liver enzymes. We're only going to do it for a few days until they're discharged.
Sure, yeah.
Another quick thing that you could potentially talk about if it's metastatic is doing orchiectomy. So we have done that before. So you just orc them, and so for those of you who don't know,
your insurance wouldn't approve the meds we want to use, so we're just going to cut your balls off.
Cut your balls off, yeah.
It helps the bone pain, and a lot of those guys are pretty miserable. So.
Yeah, that's a tough place.
But these would be people that coming in that did not have like an outpatient work. None of this is known. Like you're finding out as you're going along. So it's kind of a sad story, but yeah, insurance is bullshit when it comes to that stuff, man. So
yeah, insurance is the worst.
But there you go, fun story.
Yeah, it's a good. There's a pretty big buzzkill, man.
So I stopped that guy's. I stopped that guy's spironolactone, by the way. I know you're like, well, we're on testosterone now, we're doing it, but I'm just like, there's so many other blood pressure medications. Why do we have to be on that one? Right?
Yeah, exactly. That was somebody just trying to check a box and again make numbers look better and not thinking about the person. They're just making numbers look better. And he was already on a diuretic as well, right? You said and the losartan. HCTZ, did you say?
It was. Oh, I think I closed it out. I'm sorry. It was not HCTZ. It was losartan and amlodipine. It's a calcium channel blocker.
Okay. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, so your TRT's not working, make sure you're not on spironolactone, what before or after testosterone.
Before, yeah, definitely. I think you could probably take it when you're on because it only works for creation of testosterone naturally. So if you're taking it, you're probably okay. But at the same time, I'm just like, you know what? If there's any variable in there, see ya.
Yeah. And our women do good on it, even with them being on testosterone. Occasionally we'll bring it on and it, helps with their acne, helps prevent any facial hair growth on exogenous testosterone for hormone optimization. And, it kind of gets some water off of them. So they like that. It's just tolerated pretty well by females.
Nice. That's a good cocktail to add in there for the ladies for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. So as you say, you're going to be in Ohio by September, Josh?
Yeah, so I hired Richie. He started on Monday.
Nice. Congrats.
So I have a new men's provider in the clinic. He this week was mostly just like, back end stuff. But then we'll start doing some training here. My hope is to have his schedule open up by September. Ohio's definitely on the list of places to get. We're going to probably add 10 to 15 states literally by September. Now, Richie will be the person servicing those areas, not necessarily me, but Richie will be trained by me, supervised by me, the whole 9 yards. So, and you'll get to meet him soon. He's still a novice. He doesn't know. I'm probably going to bring him along to Silverback this year, so you'll probably get to meet him there.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to bring Coulter as well.
Oh, cool.
So,
all right.
Yeah, it'd be a fun. I'm going to probably even see if I can con him into sitting in one of these lives one day with us, just from a cardiometabolic functional health expansion points, because he's helped. He's made me a better provider just because those were things that I was weak on and stuff.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, that would be cool. I like that.
Yeah, and so he's got a young kid at the house, so it's hard for him to want to give up any evening time. Like I don't 3 months or less, young.
Yeah, you just tell him you're the boss and he has to do it. It's not even a question.
We're all equal. We're all coworkers.
Cool. He's like, that guy
Actually,
was cool for the first 3 months, and he just really dropped the hammer on me. Got me trapped in here.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not watching.
You're right. Yeah.
I gotta get the tickets for that yet. I did not get. You got yours already, Mike, right?
I haven't bought mine either. Now that you say that.
Yeah, I got mine.
June.
What do we have here? A little question. I think you guys talked about this last Q&A. I was going to ask Josh on my next appointment, but I've been injecting tests Monday and Thursday. Any benefit to going 3 times a week or daily?
It's a big personal preference.
Go ahead.
I think any guy I convince to do 3 times a week almost always stays on it, feels better, more stable. But at the same time, just play with it. If the other thing that I have gotten into is if they're trying to do the 3rd day a week and they can't remember that 3rd one, now they're not dosing themselves, adequately, and then they're playing catch up more. And so I've switched a couple back to just twice a week for just purely adherence. For the most part, though, if you can adhere to it, I think 3 times a week is typically ideal for most guys in terms of stability.
I would agree. There's a reason I do 2 times a week versus 3 times a week, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's set in stone. It's usually started out like, so my criteria typically for 2 versus 3 is SHBG reduction. So you're going to get it with 3 times a week as well, but it's not nearly as much. So when I'm trying to do that, generally 2 times a week is to get the SHBG down a little bit more, doing it twice a week versus 3 times a week. But it doesn't mean that we can't switch to 3 times a week. Can definitely do that. I personally, from everybody that we've treated, don't really see a major difference between daily and 3 times a week. That being said, there might be 1 or 2 people that say that they like daily better. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't mind giving yourself a shot every day, have at it. I'm not the protocol police, so to speak. You know, I want what's best for my patients, but at the same time, there's generally like kind of a method to the madness and figuring out what's the, you know, easiest for them to do. But yeah, 3 days a week is definitely something we could explore 100%. Unless their SHBG is like 85 or something like that, then no.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, you're more likely to get that SHBG down a little bit, and then because then maybe you don't need as high, you don't have to crank up the dose as high to get the same effect too. Because you give enough testosterone, you're going to get it down eventually.
Exactly.
But how high do you want to go, and what's that going to do to you? Do you like the way that makes you feel? So it depends. But yeah, sweet spot for a lot of guys is going to be 3 times per week. But yeah, if you have a high SHBG guy, maybe it's not the best way to go out of the gate. And daily injections is a commitment. I do it. I've been doing it for years. I like it, but I've had some guys try it and like, I don't notice a difference. And I have some like, man, I love this. I feel great, and they like it being part of their daily routine. I don't know. There can be something to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just have to figure it out, and that's kind of part of the game and figuring out. And nothing ever necessarily stays the same, right? If I had somebody that had an SHBG of 85 and we can get it down to like 35, then they're probably going to have a lot more balance in their hormonal thing, and we would obviously at that point in time definitely entertain switching them to 3 times a week. I would never do daily on somebody with a super high SHBG though, never, because unlikely to yield much benefit at that point, just because you're not giving enough androgen to do anything. And then you have clinics that are talking about taking like Proviron or oxandrolone to just drive it down, which I've seen, which I'm just like, how about just adjust the test protocol, do it too? But
yeah.
Right. Yeah, before you start adding additional medications. Or about boron, but you had to take a large dose and you had to take it PR.
Is that really for the large dose? Is that the actual route of recommendation?
That's what I'm putting out there right now on the internet. It's out there.
Okay, I like it.
But no.
I was like, I hadn't seen that.
What people say, I've heard that, it's boron. And they say, well, it didn't work for me. Oh, you didn't take enough. So I'm up in the ante a little bit. So
I like it.
Let's see if someone actually tries that.
Yeah, and so I do go off a SHBG some. Like if their SHBG is less than 20, a lot of times I'll be like, I think you'll probably try. The 3 times a week. If it's 100%. Less than 10, then those are the guys where I'm like, try daily if you want.
Yep. 100%.
But a lot of times that'll do it. And again, it comes down to adherence. Whatever they're able to adhere to is what I'm gonna really be leaning in at the end of the day. And the guys that do daily that I have, they like it. I mean, they brush their teeth, put on deodorant, give themselves an injection, go out throughout their day. It's just part of it. Right. And they're actually more adherent. I've had some who switched from daily or from 3 times a week to daily, and they're more adherent because it's part of the routine rather than trying to remember if they took it or not.
Yeah, I think every other day is the worst routine because people forget.
Yeah.
It's not Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's not every day. It's not
every
Tuesday,
week.
Thursday. It's just you don't remember, did I do that yesterday or not? Unless you're writing it down. That's an extra thing to do that people don't like to write stuff down. So easy to forget. I probably would forget. I don't know. But it's not a great.
I tried every other day and I went back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday because it was 100%. I could not keep up. I couldn't get it down myself. And so I'm like, if I can't do it, then I'm not going to expect anybody else to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Woodway says, on my 90-day labs, SHBG was 80. Would like to get that down.
That is pretty high.
That's high.
It is pretty high. And SHBG is interesting, right? Because higher isn't always, it's not some big bad evil thing, and there could be some things driving it. There could be some lifestyle things. What's your diet and exercise looking like? Those are big ones. If you tell me you're an endurance athlete who's eating a carnivore diet and doing some intermittent fasting in there too on top of it, I'm not surprised. So those kinds of things can drive it. You start adding in some more resistance training and cutting back on some cardio, adding some carbs into your life, and you can bring it down. Yeah. I mean, too low is too low, right? Too low is I'd rather see it high than low. If we're trying to pick one, low is not good. Bad things are happening. 80 is like, you might just be a healthy dude who runs high and there's a couple of lifestyle things, and Just need to play it where it lies. Maybe you need a ton of testosterone to overcome it, or you need to find the right injection frequency or some combination. But yeah, don't stress it too much, and definitely don't try to chase some of those other crazy things we were talking about.
Oxandrolone, add to cart.
Right. Yeah. So I heard, oh man, I was joking.
I'll do a little bit of a liver workup though, just to make sure, because I have seen guys like mild cirrhosis or something with elevated SHBG, like in a guy that's been an alcoholic or previous drug abuse. I've seen them go up. So I'll somewhat get just a little bit of liver workup just for my own comfort, just to make sure, or, make sure it's not just this horrendously fatty liver or anything. If it's a guy that's way overweight, like just like you're saying, it could be a dude that's insanely healthy, running, endurance athlete, not eating any carbs. That's a different high SHBG than the guy that's overweight, 280.
Yeah, it depends who you're looking at too. Yeah, it depends who you're looking at, who walked in the door here. What so on top of what you're getting on your CMP, on your metabolic panel, and maybe like a GGT, what are you doing? You getting like a liver ultrasound, or what else are you doing?
GGT, I've had it real high in a few previous drug addicts, and they're clean now and everything, and I'll get hepatitis panels just to make sure I'm not missing anything like that, and a liver ultrasound. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not getting fibro scans or anything. I'm not versed enough to know when to get that over what, but liver ultrasound lets me know if it's something's too out of whack. And I'm not saying anything that is the cause of it, elevated SHBG. I just that's just something on the differential that I'll somewhat dive into if they are a drinker or previous drug user or something like that.
Yeah, there is a criteria for the fibro scan too. I don't know it off the top of my head, but once you collect that data, you can see if it's something you need to do. Like if you have the iron overloaded dude and you're getting some some weird transferritin and that kind of thing, you can start putting that all together and decide if you need to do it. But again, at that point, maybe you should be talking to someone else too. But it's nice to be able to give someone that guidance though too, because I've had that patient walk in like, oh, it's all just a little high. My liver enzymes are always a little high for 10 years, and they said I have a little fatty liver. It's like, no one ever looked past this at all. We're just letting it ride. Like, what are we doing here? So you don't want to be that guy either.
Yeah.
He says, the same guy, I've got a few pounds to lose, about 25 or so, working on it. Okay. Yeah. So, it's not totally doable. So it'd be interesting to see where that moves as you get closer to that goal too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What you got here? What gauge and length of needles recommended for deltoid injections of cypionate? What do you think?
27 gauge half inch is probably, unless you're a bigger dude, then I'd maybe go 5/8, but definitely no harpoon or anything. I think the vast majority can do pretty good with either of those.
18 gauge, inch and a half.
Yeah. Just muscle coring each time.
Right. Yeah, 27 to 29 gauge. It depends upon how patient you are.
Sure.
Right. If the bigger the gauge, the smaller the needle, the more, the slower it's going to drop, slower it's going to inject. You're also putting smaller holes in your body. Sometimes in a deltoid, some guys have leaky delts too. Right. So they're doing injections, and no matter what they do, they just get a little bit of leak after. It's not a big deal. It's not all leaking out. It's just it's a drop that's coming out, and it looks like, it looks like a lot. But for those guys, sometimes a 5/8 can work a little bit better. It's kind of hard to do a Z track on your own deltoid, but you can sometimes do some manipulation where you have it, your shoulders resting on the counter, and then you do it, and now it moves, and you kind of move the tissue a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I like to kind of throw a 5/8 27 gauge in there every once in a while too. But those are about the ranges, I think.
Can you have a normal AST and ALT and still have fatty liver or cirrhosis? Yeah, fatty liver for sure. And cirrhosis at more of an end stage, like it definitely raises at the higher as you're getting cirrhosis, the AST and ALT will increase, and then at like end stage cirrhosis, it's actually stone cold normal as your liver has now turned to a rock. Basically, it's just not making it anymore. But sometimes that's where I found fatty liver was from just those subtle AST, ALT elevations. It's like, let's just see what it is. And, or like from the in-body, their visceral fat will be like 24 or something, like a real high. Ours gives a number on their visceral fat. Yours is a little different. I think you have the step above me, Josh, and yours gives like some surface area of visceral fat, doesn't it, or something?
What's that?
Your in-body?
Yeah, so we get centimeters squared.
Okay. And so can you somewhat extrapolate that to potential fatty liver or anything like that?
I generally, I'll look at, we have a lot of guys that are overweight, and that's fine because obviously we're working on that. And that's why they're here. But
Yeah.
I'll usually just do, excuse me. We'll watch the visceral fat, and obviously we'll look at getting that down. I don't really check, I don't get ultrasounds or anything like that or anything. I'll check obviously chemistry to just look at their liver enzymes and make sure it's okay. But generally speaking, if I can get somebody down with their visceral fat below 100 centimeters squared into a more preferred surface area visceral fat, and I can get their body fat percentage below 20%, we'll generally not have any issues at that point at all.
Nice.
Obviously, in reductions of destructive habits as well. How much alcohol do you drink? That type of stuff. But I don't have an exact formula to extrapolate visceral fat to fatty liver. But if I can get them that, then if they do have one, at least I know that it'll improve. Actually, I have I think when Silverback too, they had that nice protocol for fatty liver to kind of help it out. A lot of it was supplements. I actually see it really good with growth hormone secretagogues too. Do it.
I was going to ask if
Testosterone,
visceral fat. I was going to say, you're pulling out your testosterone.
Yeah. CJC mostly. That's primarily what we use. CJC
I'm mostly poking you there too, because I know you've talked about a couple times. Hey, these are all the same class of medication. If one's been studied to work for that specific reason, it doesn't mean the others don't, right? So.
Right, exactly. So I think CJC and Ipamorelin have the most robust growth hormone response, which is why we use those. So, speaking of, I'm gonna have to go give mine here in about 8 minutes. So,
Coulter does a lot of functional integrative med, and so he does the phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxes, and so he'll use glutathione, TUDCA, and has a lot of good success with that. And anybody that has have had a gallbladder out, I mean, he's recommending basically TUDCA for life for them, to help.
Really?
Yeah. Someone just jumped in here and said that here too. Joshua, TUDCA help for liver enzymes for me. Yeah, it could be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Be a good one for sure.
I like N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, TUDCA. Those are all in my kind of repertoire.
Yeah, those are all nice. But what works the best is improving your diet, losing some body fat. I mean, it's going to be, hopefully you're doing that in conjunction with all these other things. Let's push it along. But that's where the GLP meds work so great for that.
Yep.
You're giving the liver a break here, just getting pounded all the time. That's why it gets fatty. That's why it ends up getting cirrhotic. You're just, it doesn't get a break. You just give this poor thing a break. It's one of your primary storage tanks for glycogen. And if you're just overfilling it constantly, it's gonna get angry. Oh, there we go too. Yeah, someone pops in there. Whitway trials are showing retatrutide doing great, reducing fatty liver disease, from what I understand. Yeah, it's not surprising.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's going to be, we'll be able to control it amazingly. I mean, tirzepatide's already super baller at it. Retatrutide,
even independent of weight loss. I mean, I'm hammering on the weight loss part here, but it has an independent action. So if you're if it's doing both of those things, it's going to improve just from the weight loss. Plus, there's some additional goodness there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, here's a good nutrition question, Mike. When it said eating right on TRT is as close you can be to carnivore with high amounts of fat the best way? That's a good question.
Oh, for satiety, I
Yeah.
would say no. So, the more insulin sensitive you get and the more in shape you are, the more you're going to be able to tolerate carbs. And the more exercise you're doing, the more you're going to be able to tolerate carbs. So you need to earn, they say you need to earn your carbs. Carbs aren't evil. They're fuel. They're the body's preferred source. But if you don't need it, you don't need it. You don't need to keep overfilling the gas tank. The tank's full, right? If you're going to keep emptying the tank and refilling it, carbs are the most efficient way, and it's going to work great. They just really, really do work great. So I like to set, carnivore can be a nice diet. It's an easy way to eat. You're cutting out a lot of junks, or, by default, you're going to be eating less calories than you were before. You're going to get real full. It feels good. It's a great way to reset the gut. People with GI issues, I like to use that short term as just an elimination diet. Then we add some stuff back in later. For things like, you want to talk about optimizing, muscle gain though, carbs are great. I mean, it's just going to be so much better. Can you get there without it? Sure you can, but carbs are stored as glycogen in muscle, and you just get this extra
Carbs
benefit
activate
by,
mTOR as well.
right? Yeah, for sure.
So-
For sure. Yeah. So if you want to be the most efficient with, gaining as much lean muscle mass as you can, carbs in there are definitely the way to go. I mean, you can get real in the weeds if you wanted to too, and now you can do something like some carb cycling. Like maybe the days you're not exercising, you're eating a little bit higher fat, and your exercise days you're eating a little, you're putting the carbs back in there. I think that's an okay thing to do too. So a lot of ways to do it, but there's nothing. I don't think there's anything particularly magic about carnivore, unless you're talking about like a short-term gut reset kind of thing. And again, we were talking earlier about, wanting things to be magical and good and the best thing. I definitely wanted that to be a thing. I tried it for a while. And I felt great. It was great for gut health. I felt pretty good. It was super easy to eat that way. I definitely enjoyed eating 3 pounds of meat a day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, I was feeling kind of flat. I added back in some carbs. I gained 5 pounds back quick, just things refilled, better workouts in the gym. So you have to play with it. Everyone's a little bit different, but I wouldn't say carnivore is the best. I think meeting your protein goals is the best, and then meeting your caloric goals, and fueling yourself for where you are based upon the condition you're in your activity.
Yeah, great points. Yeah, and that's what everybody says. I always hate coming off the carnivore or keto because I gain so much weight so fast back, and it's like, well, yeah, you just or they say they lose a lot of weight real fast,
Right.
and it's like, okay, you're just depleting all your glycogen, and once you stop and start getting carbs back, it just refuels. So, you have to be on it long enough to have enjoyed the fat loss with it. And I'm the same. I'll use it as an elimination diet, if they want, and it's nice because it, just like you said, it cuts out all the junk, all the sugar and stuff, and they get their protein in. But the vast majority of people just aren't going to be able to continue to train or anything well on it.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. People think, you're getting all that protein, so you're not getting any carbs or any sugar, but then you at a point you're going to have some gluconeogenesis, unless you're in a true keto diet where you're eating also
Right.
low protein. So now you're just eating mostly fat, which no one wants to do, right? Even if you're eating bacon, that would be it. Maybe then you're going to be able to do that. But which, someone's out there going, hell yeah, that sounds good. So I mean, but yeah, your body's going to do it for you. That's how bad it wants carbohydrates. It's going to take that protein, it's going to turn it into glycogen, and then it's going to use it. So it just turns into more expensive carbs at that point too. So yeah. What we got here?
Tyler asks when Red is going to be available. I mean, they did just finish up some phase 3 trials, which is awesome. And it's just friggin' screaming all these positive results. But I don't think, I mean, my guess is probably early 2027. Probably my guess.
That was the last thing I saw on it. They were saying like early 20.
I'm still scared because I mean, Eli Lilly's trying to do everything in the world they can to make it a biologic, and they're gonna, then it won't be able to be compounded, and then their patent extends, what is it, to like 15 years or 12 years over the typical 7. And
yeah, it goes out a lot more.
Yeah, and
It
so
has
it's
that
gonna be
extra. It has those extra amino acids, man. Like two extra or something like that. I forget what it is exactly. It was something
so
like
minuscule,
that.
but they're I mean, rightfully so. It's hard to fault them. It's going to be $1 trillion drug. They created it but it was something from the API from the government as well, right? That, it's like, yeah, Eli Lilly did it, but
I saw something about that on the internet. I did not fact check it.
I didn't either.
You had to look up everything. So someone on the internet is saying that for sure. I don't know if it's true or not, but still, they still had to put in all this money and time to do it, right? I'm not
I didn't put in
here, but
if I put in $1 billion to something, I would want to get a ROI on my $1 billion in time.
Yeah, for sure. Either way, they did some cool stuff to make this thing available and put it out and get it out there as a thing. Someone wasn't going to just stumble across it. It's not like they just opened up a cookbook somewhere and picked a recipe and said, "Oh, we're going to call this one our own." So they had to do some extra magic there. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see when it comes out, because I don't know how many people are actually have used it already. It'll be interesting to have a tally of what those numbers actually are.
I bet, we're getting more and more patients every day from the gray market using it, and I can't fault them either. And really, it's hard to argue, in a sense, like their body compositions improve and they're not having side effects. It's like they are playing Russian roulette in terms of quality, sourcing, endotoxins, dosing, sterility, etc. But this is the market that they've done. They have one hand over here where it's probably going to be, we don't know, but I'm guessing it'll be $1,200 a month to start. And then the underground is going to be, I don't know what it costs underground, $40, like almost nothing. So it's going to be interesting how it pans out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because no one seems to be afraid to do it anymore either. It's not just some gym bros. It's all the soccer moms and grandmas and everyone. They're all which is to buy peptides on the internet and injected themselves with it.
It's so crazy. It's like, Eli Lilly's going on after the compounding pharmacies, making it harder for legitimate people or legitimate practices to do things. But like, why not sever the tie from the research chemical stuff, which is not regulated anyways? Right. I think that they're going after the wrong people, but what do I know?
It'll be interesting to see what we have here. I've been taking CJC, Ipamorelin for a few months and like the effects. Do you recommend cycling, or can I take them continuously?
Do you want me to answer that one?
I don't want you to lose the last bit of your voice for it, but if you want to kick it out,
well, I'll answer this and then I gotta go. But
yeah, no, we should wrap it. We should wrap it anyway. Let's wrap it up on this.
CJC and Ipamorelin. Ipamorelin is not the same thing as a growth hormone releasing hormone on the same side as CJC would be. Because it's a growth hormone releasing peptide, it will desensitize that receptor after a period of time. Ergo, I do not like running CJC with Ipamorelin continuously. You theoretically could, but you're better just run CJC by itself at that point, not with the Ipamorelin. So I like to do, I call it a 3+3. 3 months, evaluate, continue another 3 months, and then you take time off. Most people hit their body comp goals in that time frame anyway. And then also they're just really sick and tired of sticking themselves with needles. So like having a little bit of some time off is actually kind of beneficial for them. To take some time off, let that receptor resensitize, and then you can continue to take it. So that's how I like to do it. And we find that it works really well. I take CJC and Ipamorelin about twice a year. And I do it for about three months at a time at this point. So
I get injection fatigue. I kind of do it, a couple times a year as well. And, by the time I take testosterone 3 times a week, I take tirzepatide twice a week. And then I add this in 5 days a week or 5 nights a week. I'm like, by the end of the vial, I'm like, I'm kind of glad, that it's done.
Yeah, I need some time off from this. So, and it is. It's just nice to have that time away from it, because it does. It really gets to be like a little much.
But like Testosterone, Egrifta Yeah, Eugrifta is the brand name that's used in HIV lipodystrophy of Testosterone, and they do 2 grams every day and no breaks, and they seem to do okay, And so I think the 5 days on, 2 days off can be ran pretty well long term if people want. But again, I like to be conservative and give them a break after a while as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the growth hormone releasing hormones, like you said, indefinitely you could, but there's really no reason to. You just get tired of giving yourself a shot after a while.
Yeah.
It's good to take a little bit of a
Yeah,
time out.
give your wallet a break, give things a break, let things reset,
Yep.
and then yeah, I do like. I mean, I think you'd want to run it for at least 3 months, though. I think shorter than that probably isn't a great idea.
No
Three,
real
3 to
benefit
6,
prior to that.
3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And the the 5 on 2 off thing is, I think that mostly came out of GH use with underground use and gym bros and bodybuilders to keep the cost down. Because there's no great research showing 5 on 2 off is really a great thing, right? I mean, even with the Testosterone, didn't they do it daily in those studies? I thought they did.
Yeah, it was 1.2 and 2.4 milligrams daily for well over a year.
Yeah, and the growth hormone itself too. I mean, they weren't doing 5 on 2 off,
right?
In a lot of those studies. But again, it's just stuff's expensive, and maybe the idea of poking yourself. Maybe those 2 nights on the weekend too, you're not going to be able to keep it a couple hours away from food because you're out at the bar and you came home. You're not going to be able to stay awake for an hour and a half because you're too drunk. You need to get to bed. You just had some Jack in the Box, and so nice to take a break.
Here's one last question, Josh. If you're out of here,
Josh,
yeah, I'm gonna head out, gentlemen. So
you're a trooper, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks for toughing it out.
Thanks for dealing with my froggy voice. So
no, it actually, I think it improved. It improved over the course, though, too. You're welcome. It was a therapeutic session.
Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up, feel fantastic. I'll have you guys to thank for it. So
all right, good night, man.
All right, see you guys.
See you soon.
Yeah, last one. Opinion for a 60-year-old guy. Optimal total of free testosterone number to be. When started, my total was 219. So he's already on testosterone, looking to see the magic number. My magic number is wherever you feel the best subjectively, without side effects and everything. That's kind of cliche. Me and Mike were talking earlier. I think I've narrowed I used to say 20 to 40 on the free testosterone and not really care too much about the total. I think I've narrowed it to about 25 to 35 is where I try to get most of the guys from a free testosterone standpoint, nanograms per deciliter. But starting at 219, you're starting pretty low. And so sometimes you don't need a lot to feel really good.
Yeah, your free was probably super low.
Yeah,
60. Your SHBG is probably on the higher side. So your free is probably really low. So, but yeah, Mason's right. I mean, so you definitely want, the free is going to be a more important number to follow. It's going to be more correlated with symptom relief. It's what you're looking for. And, more isn't always better, but yeah, you might feel, I mean, it might come back at 15, you might feel great. And that's fine. Maybe you let that ride for a while and we could kind of, increase it again later. But yeah, I'm in that kind of same, same ballpark, 20, I call it 20 to 40, at 60 years old, unless you're a super active guy, you're pretty unlikely to need to run at the high end of that to really feel great. Have I seen it? Sure. It's usually like some lifelong athletes or really just crushing it in the gym. Just, guy's 60 and everyone thinks he's, 50. That kind of guy. He just running circles around the 30-year-olds. But yeah, see how it goes. But somewhere in there. But that's a pretty low starting point. I bet you're gonna feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. All right. Well, we went longer than we planned on again, so maybe we'll wrap it here.
Yeah.
You have anything you wanna add, Mason? I'm gonna put links for Mason and Josh in there with their clinics, so you guys can find them if you want to reach out to them. I'll have a link for mine in there too. If you have questions, you could reach out to any of us. But
yeah, I have a YouTube page, Live Oak Health, and we cover all kinds of topics. We're in Texas. If anybody needs telemedicine help, we're in San Angelo, Texas. for brick and mortar, and we love seeing you in person, but also telehealth in Colorado and Florida if anybody, wants any further insight from me or my staff.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I'll put links to the clinics in there, to these guys' YouTube channels. Matt was going to join us too. He didn't make it, but if you guys haven't seen the TRT Dad Unscripted podcast, that's a great one too. Josh and Matt do that all the time. They've had some great guests on there too.
They do a good job. I like listening to it.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Yeah, I never miss it. It's good stuff. All right, well, thanks for everyone who spent some time with us, and
thanks for the questions, guys. It was awesome.
All right, good night, everybody.